What if, at the moment you think you've made a decision, your brain has already begun preparing for it? What if your will is nothing more than a story you tell yourself after the fact? In 1983, neuroscientist Benjamin Libet published a startling experimental result. Before we feel, "I've just decided," the brain has already begun its preparation. This was the moment when science reopened a philosophical question that has persisted for over 2,000 years. If free will is an illusion, what does responsibility mean? Can punishment be justified? Is love real? Today, let's dive deep into the concept of free will from both scientific and philosophical perspectives. By the time you finish this video, you'll have a new lens through which to view everything you thought you were choosing. Chapter 1. When the brain decides first. You decide to move your hand. In that moment, you feel you're exercising free will. But what if that sensation of deciding is an illusion that arises only after your brain has already begun its preparation? Libet's experiment was simple. Subjects were asked to flex their wrist whenever they wished. They recorded the moment they decided to move by noting the position of a rotating light. Simultaneously, brain activity was measured. And here's what they discovered. Depending on experimental conditions, the readiness potential rises hundreds of milliseconds before the action, and the conscious awareness of intention is reported later. This activity is observed in brain networks involved in motor preparation, such as the supplementary motor area and premotor systems. In other words, before conscious decision-making occurs, the brain may have already begun its preparation. At the moment we think we're choosing freely, the brain may have already set things in motion. And here's where a crucial question emerges. If the brain prepares first, what is our will? Could it be nothing more than a narrative we construct after the fact, interpreting the brain's decision as, "I decided this"? This was a discovery that shook the very foundation of the concept of free will. However, this experiment has faced criticism. In recent years, rather than viewing the readiness potential as evidence that, quote, "the decision is already determined," influential research interprets it as a preparatory or accumulation process in the brain before voluntary action occurs, and the implications of Libet's experiment are now discussed more cautiously. Libet himself proposed that even after the brain begins preparation, consciousness retains the ability to veto just before acting, a kind of right to refuse. The focus of free will isn't just on initiation, but also on inhibition. Now, let's delve deeper into this question. Chapter 2. The Prison of Determinism. What Libet's experiment suggests is the possibility that our choices are bound by a chain of causation. This is called determinism, the idea that everything in the universe is determined by physical laws. In the early 19th century, mathematician Laplace proposed a thought experiment called the demon. If an intelligence knew the position and momentum of every particle in the universe, the future would be completely predictable. In the world of Newtonian mechanics, the universe was a giant clockwork mechanism. If you knew the initial conditions, you could calculate what you'd choose tomorrow, everything. In 2023, renowned neuroscientist Sapolsky also asserted that free will does not exist due to biological determinism, reigniting the controversy. But in the 20th century, with the emergence of quantum mechanics, this certainty began to crumble. Heisenberg's uncertainty principle showed that it's impossible to know both a particle's position and momentum with perfect precision simultaneously. At least within the framework of standard quantum theory, outcomes are described probabilistically, and depending on interpretation, some positions acknowledge fundamental randomness. The Laplacian ideal of complete prediction became unattainable, at least within the framework of modern physics, due to quantum indeterminacy and the constraints of measurement. Here, many people hope. Could quantum randomness be the source of free will? But philosophers ask, is a random decision truly free? Or is it merely chance? Let's think about what this means. If our choices reduce to either determinism or randomness, where is there room for free will? Are we merely slaves to either causation or chance? Philosophers have offered various answers to this question. And among them, the most influential is compatibilism. The bold claim that determinism and free will are compatible. What does this mean? In the next chapter, let's explore this mystery. Chapter 3. Redefining freedom. Many philosophers believe that free will and determinism are compatible. This is called compatibilism. They ask, does freedom truly mean independence from the chain of causation? Hume, in works like An Inquiry Concerning Human Understanding, argued for the compatibility of liberty and necessity, forming one of the foundations for later compatibilism. Compatibilists say, freedom means being able to act according to your own desires and values, without external coercion. If you're imprisoned, you are not free. But if you act according to your own wishes without anyone forcing you, that is freedom, even if those desires themselves were determined by past experiences and genetics. Modern neuroscience provides evidence supporting this perspective. Impulse control and planning are supported by networks involving multiple regions of the prefrontal cortex, striatum, and cingulate cortex. In other words, free will might be the ability of higher brain functions to control lower-level impulses. It's not independent of causation, but it's sufficiently free to be called such. But here's where a serious question arises. If free will is an illusion, can punishment be justified? Can we hold people responsible? Neuroscientific findings are often discussed not in terms of complete exoneration, but in how they might influence the assessment of criminal responsibility or the design of recidivism prevention and therapeutic interventions. However, many philosophers counter. Responsibility is not about causal independence, but the consequence of being a rational agent. As long as we are beings capable of acting based on reasons, responsibility exists. Think about this for a moment. If we truly believed we have no free will, what would happen to society? Would love lose its meaning, effort become pointless, and all moral judgment collapse? Or perhaps, by letting go of the illusion of free will, we could build a more tolerant, more empathetic society. A society that seeks to understand people rather than judge them. So what should we believe? Let's organize what we've uncovered from this exploration. Chapter 4. The World Revealed. Now, today we've explored the philosophical question of free will, one that has persisted for over 2,000 years, from both scientific and philosophical angles. At the moment we think we're choosing, the brain may have already begun its preparation. But is that truly a denial of freedom? Or is it a new understanding of freedom? Let's summarize the world that has been revealed through today's exploration. First, what Libet's experiment showed was the possibility that preparatory processes related to movement proceed before our conscious decision. However, in recent years, influential research views the readiness potential not as, quote, confirmation of a decision, but as accumulation of noise in the brain. The interpretation remains debated. Second, neither determinism nor quantum randomness guarantees true free will. If choice is bound by a chain of causation, it is not free. But if choice is mere chance, that too is not freedom. The philosophical dilemma persists. Third, compatibilism redefines freedom. Freedom is not independence from causation, but the ability to act according to one's own reason and desires without external coercion. From this perspective, determinism and free will are compatible. These insights fundamentally challenge our understanding of responsibility, morality, and human relationships. Through this exploration, I feel a deep humility. Neither science nor philosophy yet has a definitive answer to the question of free will. But perhaps confronting this question itself is what makes us human. To question the meaning of choice, to accept responsibility, to seek to understand others. That might be the essence of freedom. We live within this uncertainty, and I think that's okay. Finally, I want to ask you, if your choices were completely determined by past experiences and genetics, would you still feel responsibility? And if so, where does that sense of responsibility come from? I don't yet have answers to these questions either. But continuing to ask is what moves us forward. After you finish this video, when you return to daily life, I want you to be aware, just a little. The next time you choose something, observe that moment. Where does the decision come from? Is the brain preparing first? Or are you deciding? You may not find an answer, but that observation itself will deepen your self-understanding. I'd love to hear you share your insights in the comments. Your questions are the force that propels this channel forward. Thank you for joining me on this intellectual journey to the very end. I'm grateful we could explore this profound question of free will together. If this video has brought a new perspective to your thinking, I'd appreciate your subscription and like. On Mindshift, we continue exploring the universe, consciousness, and the nature of existence from both scientific and philosophical perspectives. Your intellectual curiosity is the driving force for the next exploration. Until next time.